Many immigrants see the border as a transitional obstacle that must be crossed to be able to provide a promising life for their families. They are well aware of the dangers of crossing the border from Mexico to the United States, but it does not stop their attempt to make the treacherous voyage. In 1985, 1,400 miles south of the border in a small ranch in El Salcillo, Jalisco, Mexico, 22-year-old María Elena Ávila was living a life of despair and struggle. She had given birth to her first daughter and had a bitter relationship with the father. At home, her mother was dealing with the abuse of her husband. Life in Mexico for Maria was undesirable. Her younger brother had had it with the family's struggles that he took the initiative to move the family north of the border. Maria, her younger brother, and their mother sold all that they had and purchased plane tickets from Guadalajara to Tijuana, where the crossing would take place. With the help of her two older brothers who had settled in the U.S. years before, Maria's daughter and mother crossed safely to the United States, while she and her younger brother stayed behind with a coyote. For 3 days, with nothing but the clothes on their backs, Maria and her brother waited impatiently for the perfect time to jump the border. As nighttime fell on the third day, the opportunity came and Maria and her brother, along with others, began to climb the fence. As they reached the top of the fence, Maria's red skirt got caught. With her brother climbing up right behind her and in a hurry, he did all that he could to help his older sister. He gave Maria a push and she fell onto American soil. At that moment, my mother became one of approximately 200,000 unauthorized immigrants to cross the border that year. With helicopters overhead and Border Patrol agents making their way towards them, Maria, her younger brother, and the others made their way north, running but sticking together to not leave anyone behind. A couple hours later, as the dust settled, a truck picked them up a few miles from the fence. The group laid in the truck bed and headed northbound onto Interstate 5. That night, as in many other nights, the border proved to be no challenge and the transition of life as an illegal immigrant in the United States began for Maria. That night, Maria and her younger brother were dropped off in Los Angeles, where Maria's daughter and mother anxiously awaited them. The following day, one of Maria's older brothers picked them up and brought the family to La Habra. Maria transitioned from living in the ranch in El Salcillo to an apartment in La Habra. She assimilated to life in the United States and became a hard worker. Just a year later, in 1986, Maria married Jorge, who was a Salvadorian refugee. The family quickly grew with the addition of 4 children, born between 1986 and 1991. To support her 5 children, Maria worked typical immigrant jobs. She worked as a seamstress, she cleaned houses for upper-class Americans, watched over their children, and ultimately worked as a peeler and packer of cactus. She made sure that her children knew the opportunities they had living in America and emphasized in them the importance of an education. All her children are now grown and caring for their own children and remembering the life of their beloved mother and grandmother. Maria lost her battle to breast cancer on May 3, 2009, but her memory and her work ethic lives in her children and grandchildren.